We come today to the 15th chapter of Joshua. The initial verse of this chapter introduces a formula, quote, the allotment of the tribe of, and then names one tribe. And this repeats itself in at least a similar pattern throughout chapters 15 to 17, and thus binds them together into a unity. Here the allocations of the senior tribes of Judah, Ephraim and Manasseh are recounted. Judah comes first, probably as the tribe to whom the messianic promises had been given in Genesis chapter 49, verses 6 to 12. A closer look at these three chapters reveals diversity amid the sameness. For example, in the present chapter, verses 2 to 12 describe in detail the boundaries of the allocated territory, and verses 20 to 62 list the detailed allocations clan by clan, city by city, village by village. Each of these two sections is footed by a story, one of success in verses 13 to 19, and the other of failure in verse 63. But why? Several points are apparently stressed here. The first is that God's promises have their fulfillment in the concrete, and his gifts are tangible and visible. Secondly, these are many, often small, but very specific blessings. How must the inhabitants of a tiny village near Beth Dagon in verse 41 have rejoiced in the Lord's provision of their little plot of land, and those in the next, and the next, and the next village? Thirdly, such provisions were those of a God who was interested in small people, clan by clan. And fourthly, these very specifics confirm the Lord's faithfulness to his promises to their ancestors to the minutest detail. Fifthly, such detail may emphasize that the world of society and politics is not independent of the authority of God. Meanwhile, and in the midst of all this, we have a fuller account of Caleb securing Hebron in verses 13 to 19. It is evidence of a vigorous faith put into action in a rather canny way. It contrasts with the indolence of others who were younger and should have known better, as we see in verse 63. The latter marks a jarring warning note, which is amply justified in the light of the book of Judges. Caleb's offer has something of ancient Palestinian culture about it, as does Achsah's rather delightful twisting of the old man round her finger in verse 18 and 19. But it was also an incentive to bravery, since only a man of faith and courage would attack such a place as Caleb was seeking to possess. Possibly it anticipates the answer to the question too, who will be the leader to follow Joshua? Othniel, of course, re-emerges as the first judge after the death of Joshua in Judges chapter 3 verses 7 to 11. Thus a long and apparently tedious chapter comes to life as the Word of God, an ongoing encouragement and challenge to all those who are children of God. And such life from the dead offers us some encouragement too, as we delve into the next two chapters.